Before we begin, share your own grandma stories in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep these memories alive together. The phone rang at 11:30 on a Wednesday night, and I knew before I answered that something was wrong. Nobody calls at that hour with good news. My hand shook a little as I reached for it on the nightstand, squinting at the screen without my reading glasses. Unknown number. For a second, I thought about letting it go to voicemail, but something in my chest told me to pick up. Hello, Grandma? The voice was small, cracked. 12 years old, trying to sound older, trying not to cry. Grandma, it's me. It's Oliver. I sat up straight, my heart already racing. Oliver? Baby. What's wrong? Where are you? I'm at the police station. He said it so quietly I almost didn't hear. On Maple Street. The one near the high school. They let me use their phone because mine's at home and I didn't know who else to call. The police station. My grandson. 12 years old. The room tilted a little. Are you hurt? Are you okay? What happened? I'm okay. But his voice said he wasn't. Can you come get me? Please? I don't want Dad to come. I need you. I'm already getting dressed, I said, throwing off the covers with my free hand. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Less. You stay right there. You hear me? Don't go anywhere. I won't. Thank you, Grandma. I'm sorry. Don't you dare apologize. I'm coming. I hung up and stood there for half a second in my nightgown, trying to process. Oliver at a police station. Oliver who got straight A's and played violin and still hugged me goodbye even though he was getting to that age where boys stop doing that. Oliver whose biggest crime was leaving his cleats in the hallway or forgetting to take the trash out. My hands fumbled with my clothes. I pulled on the first things I found: jeans, a sweater, my old Reeboks. Didn't bother with makeup or brushing my hair. Just grabbed my purse and keys and headed for the door. My mind spinning with terrible possibilities. The drive felt like it took hours even though I made it in 12 minutes. I kept thinking about his voice. The way he'd said I'm okay when clearly he wasn't. The way he'd asked me not to call his father my son, Marcus. The police station was lit up like a Friday night football game, all fluorescent and institutional. I parked crooked and didn't care. Just rushed inside where a young officer sat behind a desk doing paperwork. I'm here for Oliver Bennett, I said, breathless. My grandson. He called me. The officer looked up, and his expression softened. Mrs. Patterson. Lorraine Patterson. Where is he? He's right back here. He's fine, ma'am. No trouble or anything like that. Well, you can talk to him. He stood and gestured for me to follow him through a door into a hallway with plastic chairs bolted to the wall. And there was Oliver. He sat hunched over, elbows on his knees, staring at his shoes. When he heard us coming, he looked up, and I saw his face. The left side was red and swollen, an angry mark spreading from his cheekbone to his jaw. His eye was starting to bruise. His lip was split at the corner. Oh my God. I was next to him into steps, kneeling down despite what it did to my knees, my hands hovering over his face, afraid to touch him. Baby, what happened? Who did this? Oliver's eyes filled with tears he'd been holding back. Can we just go, please? I looked up at the officer who stood there with his hands on his belt, looking uncomfortable. What happened? Why is he here? Who hurt him? Ma'am, Oliver walked here himself about an hour ago. Said there was an incident at home and he didn't feel safe. We tried to call his parents, but no one answered. He asked if he could call you instead. An incident. I looked back at Oliver, at that terrible mark on his face. Someone hit you. He nodded, just barely. Who? He swallowed hard. Monica, my stepmom. The world stopped for a second. Monica, the woman my son had married 3 years ago, 2 years after his divorce from Oliver's mother. Monica with her perfect hair and her yoga classes and her insistence on calling herself Oliver's bonus mom. Monica, who I'd never quite warmed to but had tried to accept, because Marcus loved her and said she was good for him. Monica had hit my grandson hard enough to leave. Marks, did you tell your father? Oliver's face crumpled. He didn't believe me. Those words hit me like a physical blow. I pulled Oliver into my arms, careful of his bruised face, and felt him start to shake with silent sobs against my shoulder. "It's okay," I whispered, even though it wasn't. "You're safe now. I've got you." The officer cleared his throat gently. "We need to file a report if there's been abuse." "We should probably call his father and not yet," I said sharply. "Give me a minute with him." The officer nodded and stepped away, and I held Oliver until he stopped shaking. When he pulled back, I used my sleeve to wipe his face gently, avoiding the bruise. "Tell me what happened." "All of it." He took a shaky breath. "We were having dinner, just me and Dad and Monica. She made this casserole thing that I didn't like, and I didn't finish it. She got mad and said I was being ungrateful, that she spent all afternoon cooking. I said I was sorry. I just wasn't hungry. She said I was lying, that I was just being difficult because I don't respect her." He paused, picking at his thumbnail. "Dad told me to apologize. So I did, but I guess it didn't sound sincere enough or something because Monica said I was being sarcastic. We got into this whole thing where she was saying I never appreciate anything she does and I'm always making her feel like an outsider. And I got frustrated and I said that maybe if she didn't try so hard to replace my mom, things would be easier." Oliver looked at me with those big brown eyes, so much like my son's used to be when he was a boy. "I shouldn't have said that." "I know, but Grandma, she snapped. She stood up and came around the table and she hit me. Right across the face. Hard. My blood was boiling, but I kept my voice calm." "What did your father do?" "At first he yelled at her. He said, 'What the hell, Monica?' And she started crying. She said I'd pushed her to her breaking point, that I'd been disrespectful for months and she just lost control for a second. She kept apologizing to Dad, saying it would never happen again. She was just so stressed." Oliver's voice got smaller. "Dad looked at me and asked if I'd really said that thing about replacing Mom. I said yes, but that didn't mean she could hit me. And he got quiet. He said we all needed to calm down. He said Monica was sorry and I should go to my room while they talked. So you left." I tried to tell him how much it hurt, how scared I was, but he just kept saying we'd talk about it later when everyone wasn't so emotional. He said I needed to understand that Monica's feelings mattered too, and that what I said was hurtful. Like he was more worried about her feelings than my face. Oliver touched his bruise gingerly. I waited in my room for like 20 minutes. I could hear them downstairs, and Monica was still crying, and Dad was using his calm voice with her, like when he talks to his employees who mess up. Nobody came to check on me, so I left. Climbed out my window and walked here. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to my son's house and drag him out by his ear like I used to when he was 16 and did something stupid. But instead I cupped Oliver's face gently in my hands and said, "You did the right thing coming here. You were smart and brave, and I'm so proud of you. Are you going to make me go back?" "Not tonight. Tonight you're coming home with me. But Dad, your father can wait until tomorrow. Right now, you need eyes for that face and some sleep and to feel safe. That's all that matters." The officer came back with some paperwork. There were questions, official things, a report that had to be filed. I answered what I could while Oliver sat there looking exhausted and small. They took photos of his face, which made him flinch. They asked if he wanted to press charges. He looked at me terrified and confused. "Can we decide that tomorrow?" I asked. "He's been through enough tonight." The officer agreed but said someone from Child Protective Services would likely be in touch. That we needed to inform his father that he was with me. That this was a serious matter that wouldn't just go away. I understood. I signed things. And then I took my grandson's hand and led him out to my car. The drive back to my house was quiet. Oliver stared out the window at the dark streets sliding by. I wanted to fill the silence with reassurances, but I didn't know what to say. What do you tell a child when their parent chooses a new spouse over them? When their safe place becomes dangerous? "Grandma?" he said as we pulled into my driveway. "Yeah, baby." "Do you think Mom would have believed me?" His mother, Cheryl. She'd moved to Colorado 4 years ago for a job opportunity, and the custody arrangement meant Oliver only saw her during summers and some holidays. She'd called it a career opportunity she couldn't pass up. Marcus had called it abandonment. Whatever it was, Oliver had lost his mother's daily presence, and now he was losing his father too, in a different way. Yes, I said firmly. Your mother would have believed you, and she'd have raised hell about it. He smiled a little at that, just a ghost of his normal grin. Can I stay here for a while, even after tomorrow? As long as you need, inside. I got him settled on the couch with ice wrapped in a kitchen towel while I made hot chocolate the old-fashioned way, with real milk and cocoa powder, the way I used to make it for Marcus when he was Oliver's age. When I brought it to him, his eyes were heavy. Drink this. Then let's get you to bed. I'm not tired. But he was asleep 20 minutes later in the guest room that still had Marcus's old baseball posters on the walls. I stood in the doorway watching his chest rise and fall, that bruise dark against his pale skin, and felt a rage so deep and old it scared me. My son had let this happen. My son, who I'd raised to be better than this. To protect those who couldn't protect themselves, to stand up for what was right even when it was hard. My son, who had apparently forgotten all of that when faced with a crying woman and a complicated situation. I walked back to the living room and picked up my phone. 3 missed calls from Marcus. 2 voicemails. Several texts. The first voicemail was frantic. Mom, is Oliver with you? He's not in his room. We can't find him anywhere. Call me back. The second was angry. Mom, I know he called you. The police just called me. What the hell is going on? Why didn't you tell me you had him? I'm his father. You can't just take him without telling me. The texts ranged from worried to accusatory. The last one said, we need to talk about this. You're only hearing his side. I stared at that message for a long time. His side. As if there were multiple valid perspectives on an adult hitting a child. I typed back. He's safe. He's staying with me. We'll talk tomorrow. The phone rang immediately. Marcus. I let it ring. Rang again. I turned it off. Tomorrow I would have to deal with my son and his wife and whatever consequences came from tonight. Tomorrow I would have to figure out how to protect Oliver while navigating the complicated reality that Marcus was still his father. Still had rights. Still had to be part of this conversation. But tonight, I just sat in my living room in the dark, listening to the house settle. Thinking about the little boy asleep upstairs who'd called me when he had nowhere else to go. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Oliver's face, that bloom of purple and red spreading across his cheek. Saw him sitting in that police station, hunched over like he was trying to make himself smaller, invisible. Saw the way he'd flinched when they took photos for the report. Around 5 in the morning, I gave up on sleep and made coffee. Stood at the kitchen window watching the sky turn from black to deep blue to pale gray, thinking about all the mornings I'd stood in this same spot watching Marcus leave for school. Watching him grow from a small boy to a young man to a father himself. Wondering where along the way I'd failed to teach him what I thought I'd taught him. The coffee was bitter. I drank it anyway. At 6:30, I heard footsteps upstairs. Soft, hesitant. Oliver appeared in the doorway wearing the same clothes from last night. His hair sticking up on one side, the bruise on his face even darker now in the morning light. Purple, green at the edges. His eye was swollen nearly shut. Hey, Grandma. Morning, sweetheart. How'd you sleep? Okay, I guess. He shuffled to the table and sat down carefully, like everything hurt. I had weird dreams. That's normal after a shock like you had. I poured him some orange juice. How does your face feel? Hurts. He touched it gingerly. Do I look really bad? I thought about lying, but we'd passed the point of comforting untruths. You look like someone hit you, which is what happened. You want some breakfast? He nodded, and I made scrambled eggs and toast, the simple things. While he ate, I sat across from him with my coffee and tried to figure out how to have the conversations we needed to have. Your dad called a lot last night, I said finally. He wants you to come home. Oliver's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. I don't want to. I know. But we need to talk about what happens next. This isn't just going to disappear. Can't I just stay here? With you? Maybe. For a while. But your father has custody of you. Legally, he has rights. We can't just ignore that, even though he let her hit me. Oliver's voice cracked. Even though he took her side? He's still your father. And this is all going to get complicated and messy and probably involve lawyers and court and a lot of things I wish you didn't have to deal with. But first, I need you to tell me something honestly. Oliver looked at me, those brown eyes so wary. Has this happened before? Has Monica hit you before? He was quiet for a long time. Then, quietly, not like this. She's grabbed my arm hard a few times when she's mad, left bruises. And she threw a book at me once when I was being too loud. It hit my shoulder, but nothing like last night. I closed my eyes, fighting to keep my voice steady. Did you tell your father about those times? The book thing, yeah. He said I probably provoked her and I should try not to push her buttons. Said marriage is hard and I need to be more understanding. Understanding. My son wanted his 12-year-old child to be understanding while an adult woman used him as a punching bag. Okay. I stood up, anger making me restless. Okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay here today. I'm going to call your father and tell him to come over so we can all talk. Just him, not Monica. He can leave her at home. What if he won't come without her? Then he won't come. But Oliver, listen to me. I knelt down next to his chair, took his hands in mine. No matter what happens, you are not going back to that house unless I am absolutely certain you'll be safe. You understand? I don't care what your father says or what Monica promises or what any lawyer tells me. Your safety comes first. His eyes filled with tears. Promise? I promise. He hugged me then. Hard. And I held him like I used to when he was little and had nightmares. Held him until he pulled away and wiped his eyes and tried to smile. Do I have to be there? When Dad comes? That's up to you. You can be if you want. Or you can stay in your room. But either way, he needs to see your face. He needs to see what his wife did and what he allowed. Oliver nodded and went back to his eggs. I turned my phone back on. 17 missed calls. 12 texts. 2 voicemails. All from Marcus. I took a deep breath and called him back. He answered on the first ring. Mom! Jesus Christ, finally. Where's Oliver? Is he okay? He's here. He's safe. He has a black eye, a split lip and bruises, but he's safe. Silence. Then, it's not as bad as he probably made it sound. Monica just. She lost her temper for a second. She feels terrible about it. She should feel terrible. She should feel worse than terrible. She hit a child hard enough to leave marks that'll last for weeks. She's under a lot of stress. Oliver doesn't make things easy for her. He's constantly stop. My voice came out sharp, cold. Stop right there. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear about stress or how difficult Oliver is. An adult hit a child. Your child. And instead of protecting him, you made excuses for her. That's not fair. You weren't there. You didn't hear what he said to her. I don't care if he called her every name in the book. She's the adult. He's 12. And you're his father. You're supposed to keep him safe. And you failed. I'm his father. Which is why I need him home. We need to work through this as a family. He's not coming home today. Maybe not for a while. We need to figure this out properly. And that's going to take time. Mom, you can't just keep him. That's kidnapping. Call the police then. They're the ones who released him to me last night. They're the ones who took pictures of his face. You want to involve them more. Be my guest. Another silence. I could hear him breathing. Could almost see him pacing the way he did when he was frustrated. I want to see him. He said finally. I want to talk to him. Come here. Alone. Noon. We'll talk then. Monica wants to apologize. I don't care what Monica wants. This is between you and Oliver and me. She can stay home. She's my wife. And he's your son, who seems to come second to your wife's feelings. So no, she doesn't get to be part of this conversation. Not today. I hung up before he could argue more. My hands were shaking. I'd never spoken to my son that way. Never had to. We'd had our disagreements over the years, all parents and children do, but nothing like this. Nothing that made me question whether I recognized him at all. Oliver was watching me from the doorway. He's mad. He'll get over it. You want to watch some TV? Play some games? We have a few hours before he gets here. Can I use your computer? I want to email Mom. That stopped me. You want to tell her what happened? I want to talk to her. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. She should know. She's your mother. I set him up in my small home office and left him alone. Heard the keyboard clicking as he typed, then silence. Then more clicking. After about 20 minutes, he came out looking lighter somehow. Feel better. Yeah, she's probably still a sleep time difference, but she'll see it when she wakes up. We spend the morning watching old movies on TV. Not really paying attention, just filling the space until Marcus arrived. Around 11:30, I made sandwiches neither of us ate. At 5 to 12, I heard a car in the driveway. You want to stay in here? I asked Oliver. He shook his head. I should face him. You don't have to. You don't know him that. I know, but I want to. He was braver than I was at his age. Braver than his father. It seemed. Marcus came to the door looking like he hadn't slept either. Hair messy, clothes wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes. He was 38 but looked older today. Worn down. He saw Oliver and stopped in the doorway. Just stopped and stared at his son's face. Jesus, he whispered. Ollie. Hi, Dad. Marcus took a step forward, and Oliver took a step back. That tiny movement broke something in Marcus's face. Can we talk? The three of us? I gestured to the living room. We all sat down. Me next to Oliver on the couch, Marcus in the armchair across from us. The same chair he used to sit in as a teenager doing homework. The same chair his father, my late husband, used to read the paper in every Sunday morning. I'm sorry, Marcus said, looking at Oliver. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have sent you to your room. I should have made sure you were okay first. You should have believed me. Oliver said quietly. I did believe you. I know Monica hit you. I saw her do it. But you took her side. I didn't take her side. I was trying to calm the situation down. Everyone was upset and I thought you thought her feelings mattered more than my face. Marcus flinched. That's not what I thought. Then what did you think? I asked. Because from where I'm sitting, your wife assaulted your child, and instead of calling the police or taking him to the hospital or doing anything to protect him, you told him to go to his room. You let the person who hurt him stay in the house. You acted like he was the problem. Monica was hysterical. She was sobbing, saying she couldn't believe she'd done that she'd never forgive herself. She begged me not to call the police, said it would ruin her career, ruin our lives. She promised it would never happen again. And you believed her. I wanted to. She's my wife. I love her more than you love your son. That's not fair, Mom. I love Oliver more than anything. But marriage is complicated. You don't understand what it's been like trying to blend this family. Monica tries so hard, and Oliver resists everything she does. He makes it clear every day that he wishes she wasn't there. Oliver stood up suddenly. Because she's not my mom. I didn't ask for a new mom. You're the one who married her. You're the one who brought her into our house and then got mad at me every time I didn't act like everything was perfect. Oliver, no. You always do this. You always make me feel like I'm the one causing problems. Like if I just tried harder or was nicer or more grateful, everything would be fine. But it's not my job to make your wife feel better about herself. It's your job to protect me. His voice broke on the last word. He was crying now, and Marcus was crying too, standing up like he wanted to hug his son but didn't dare. You're right, Marcus said. You're absolutely right. I failed you. I got so caught up in trying to make my marriage work that I lost sight of what matters most. And that's you. It's always been you. Then why did you let her hit me? I didn't let her. I didn't know she would. And when she did, I froze. I didn't know what to do. She was apologizing and you were angry and everything was chaos and I just wanted everyone to calm down so we could figure it out. I made the wrong call. I know that now. What happens now? Oliver asked, wiping his face with his sleeve. Do I have to come home? Marcus looked at me, then back at Oliver. I don't know. I want you home. I want us to work this out. But I understand if you're not ready. If you need time. What about Monica? She's moved into the guest room. I told her she needs to give us space. She's looking into therapy, anger management. She knows she crossed a line. Do you? Oliver asked. Do you know you crossed a line too? That hung in the air for a long moment. Marcus sat back down, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. Yeah, he said finally. I know, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to be the father you deserve and the husband Monica needs. But I want to try. I want to do better. I can't come home yet, Oliver said. I need to stay here, with Grandma. For how long? I don't know. A while. Marcus looked at me. Is that okay with you? He can stay as long as he needs. We'll figure out the details, school, clothes, whatever he needs. But Marcus, you need to understand something. If Monica is in that house, I'm not comfortable with Oliver being there. Not until there are serious changes. Not until I trust that he's safe. She's not going to hurt him again. I'll make sure of it. How? By watching him every second? By never leaving them alone? What about when you're at work? What about when you're tired or distracted or just not paying attention? You can't guarantee his safety, and I'm not willing to gamble with it. So what are you saying? That Oliver can never come home? That I have to choose between my wife and my son? I'm saying you need to figure out your priorities. And right now, your priority should be making sure your son feels safe and loved and believed. Everything else is secondary. Marcus stood up, agitated. This is my family. You can't just take over and make decisions for me. I can when those decisions involve keeping my grandson safe from harm. You want to call a lawyer? Fine. You want to fight me for custody? Go ahead. But I promise you, Marcus, you won't win. Not with those pictures the police took. Not with his testimony about the other times she's hurt him. Other times? Marcus went pale. What other times? Oliver looked at the floor. The bruises on my arms. The book she threw at me last month. You never told me about a book. I did. You said I probably deserved it. I didn't say. I didn't mean. Marcus sat back down looking lost. Why didn't you tell me it was this bad? Because you never listen. You always defend her. We sat there in heavy silence. Outside, I could hear kids playing, someone mowing their lawn. Normal sounds from a normal afternoon while our family fell apart in my living room. I need to think, Marcus said finally. I need to figure out what to do. While you're thinking, I said, maybe consider why your son felt safer calling the police than calling you. Marcus looked at Oliver. Really looked at him. At the bruise and the fear and the sadness. I'm sorry, Ollie. I'm so sorry. I know, Oliver said. But he didn't sound like he believed it. Didn't sound like sorry was enough. Marcus left a few minutes later, defeated and quiet. Through the window, I watched him sit in his car for almost 10 minutes before starting it and driving away. Oliver leaned against me. Did I do the right thing? Calling you instead of just going home? You did the brave thing. You protected yourself when nobody else would. I'm so proud of you. I don't want to break up their marriage, oh honey. If their marriage breaks up, it won't be because of you. It'll be because they built it on a foundation that couldn't support a child's needs. That's on them, not you. That afternoon, my phone rang. A Colorado number. Cheryl. I got Oliver's email, she said, her voice tight with controlled fury. Tell me everything. Cheryl arrived 3 days later. She took emergency leave from her job, booked the first flight she could get, and showed up at my door at 7 in the morning looking like she'd been crying the entire flight. When she saw Oliver's face still bruised, still swollen, she made a sound like she'd been punched herself. My baby, she whispered, pulling him into her arms. My baby boy. Oliver held onto her and cried in a way he hadn't cried with me. Deep, wrenching sobs that seemed to come from somewhere ancient inside him. She held him and rocked him and murmured things I couldn't hear. And I left them alone and made coffee and tried not to think about all the years she'd been in Colorado while her son needed her here. When they finally came to the kitchen, Cheryl's face was set in hard lines. I want to press charges. Full charges. Against her and against Marcus for failing to protect him. Mom, Oliver said, alarmed. No. Let me finish. What she did is assault. What your father did is negligence at best. I want her arrested. I want it on record. I want Cheryl, I said gently. Sit down. Let's talk about this. She didn't want to sit. Wanted to pace and rage and do something with all the fury vibrating through her. But eventually she sat, hands wrapped around the coffee mug I gave her. Knuckles white. He could have been killed. But he wasn't. That's not the point. The point is that our son was in danger, and his father let it happen. I should never have left. I should never have taken that job. You should have done exactly what you did, I said firmly. You made a choice for your career, and that's valid. Marcus was supposed to be a good father regardless of where you lived. This isn't your fault. It feels like my fault. If I'd been here, if he'd been living with me, then he'd be in Colorado away from his friends and his school and his life here. And you'd be working long hours and he'd be alone a lot. There's no perfect answer, Cheryl. You were both trying to do what was best. Oliver was quiet, watching his mother process everything. She reached out and touched his face gently, tracing the bruise with her fingertips. Does it hurt? Not as much now. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make sure you're safe. How? That was the question none of us could answer. How do you fix a family that's this broken? How do you navigate custody and anger and betrayal and still somehow protect a child from being caught in the middle? Over the next week, we found out Cheryl hired a lawyer, a good one, expensive, who specialized in family law and custody disputes. They filed an emergency motion to modify the custody arrangement, citing Oliver's assault and Marcus's failure to protect him. They requested that Oliver remain with me temporarily while they sorted things out. Marcus hired his own lawyer. The legal letters started flying. Accusations, counter-accusations, demands and refusals. It was ugly and expensive and exactly what I'd hoped to avoid. CPS got involved. A social worker came to interview Oliver, then went to interview Marcus and Monica. She was kind but thorough, asking questions that made Oliver relive that night over and over. She talked to his school, to his friends' parents, to his violin teacher, building a case, gathering evidence. Monica, through her lawyer, claimed she'd acted in self-defense, that Oliver had been verbally abusive and she'd felt threatened. Her lawyer painted him as a troubled child, acting out against his stepmother, deliberately trying to sabotage his father's marriage. It was absurd, offensive, but it was also what we'd expected. They're going to drag me, Oliver said one night at dinner, pushing his food around his plate. Everyone at school already knows something happened. Kids are asking questions. Some of them believe I did something wrong. What you did wrong was being 12 in a situation that required you to be more mature than the adults around you, Cheryl said. That's not your fault. But it didn't make it easier. Oliver was quieter now, more withdrawn. Stopped practicing violin. Stopped calling his friends. Spent a lot of time in his room doing homework or reading or just staring at the ceiling. I tried to give him space while also being there. Made his favorite meals. Didn't push him to talk when he didn't want to. Let him know he was safe here, that this was his home for as long as he needed it. Marcus came by a few times to see him. Awkward, painful visits where they sat in the living room making stilted conversation. Marcus tried to explain himself, tried to apologize more, tried to rebuild something that felt irreparably broken. Monica's really working on herself, he said during one visit. She's in therapy twice a week. She's taking anger management classes. She wants to apologize to you herself. I don't want to hear it, Oliver said flatly. She's trying, Ollie. She knows she messed up. She wants to make amends. Did she mess up? Or did she assault me? Because your lawyer keeps calling it a mess up like she spilled juice on the carpet or something. She hit me, Dad. Hard. On purpose. That's not a mess up. Marcus looked like he wanted to argue but couldn't find the words. He left earlier than planned that day. The custody hearing was set for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, the judge granted a temporary order allowing Oliver to stay with me, with supervised visits from Marcus twice a week. Monica was to have no contact with Oliver at all. Those 6 weeks felt like 6 years. Cheryl had to go back to Colorado after 2 weeks. She'd already pushed her leave as far as she could. But she called every night, video chatted with Oliver, made plans. She was looking into transferring back, finding a job here, getting an apartment, trying to undo the choice she'd made 4 years ago. You don't have to do that, Oliver told her during one call. I know your job is important. You're more important, she said. I should have remembered that sooner. I watched them talk, saw the complicated mix of love and guilt and longing on both their faces, and wondered how many ways a family could break before it couldn't be put back together. School was hard for Oliver. The bruise faded eventually, but the rumors didn't. Some kids were kind. Others were cruel the way only middle schoolers can be cruel. There was graffiti in the bathroom calling him a liar. Someone started a rumor that he'd hit Monica first. His locker got vandalized. I want to switch schools, he told me one night. If that's what you need, we'll make it happen. But that means they win. The people saying I'm lying. If I leave, it's like I'm admitting they're right. Or it's like you're protecting your peace. There's no shame in walking away from a situation that's hurting you. He thought about that. Did you ever walk away from something? When people were saying things about you? I smiled sadly. Once, when your grandfather died, people had opinions about how I should grieve, how quickly I should move on, whether I should sell the house or keep it. Everyone had something to say, and I realized I didn't owe anyone an explanation for how I survived my own pain. So I stopped going to the church we'd attended together, stopped going to the social groups where people whispered, just stepped back until I could breathe again. Did it help? Eventually. At first it felt lonely, but then I realized lonely was better than constantly defending myself to people who'd already made up their minds. Oliver nodded slowly. I'll think about it. 2 weeks before the hearing, something shifted. Marcus called and asked if he could come over to talk. Not to see Oliver, just to talk to me. He looked thinner when he arrived, older, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. Coffee? I offered. Please. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd fed him breakfast before school for 18 years, where I'd helped him with homework and listened to him talk about his day and watched him grow into a man I'd been proud of. Before all this, I'm filing for divorce, he said without preamble. I set down my coffee cup carefully. When did you decide that? I've been thinking about it for weeks, but I made the final decision last night. Monica and I had a fight, a big one. She wants me to fight harder in court, wants me to paint Oliver as a troubled kid, wants me to lie, say he's been violent with her before, that she was defending herself. And you won't do that. Of course I won't do that. He's my son. But the fact that she asked me to, the fact that she thinks that's reasonable. I can't be married to someone who would ask me to destroy my relationship with my child to save her reputation. He rubbed his face with both hands. I've been so stupid, Mom. So blind. I was so desperate to make this marriage work, to prove that I could have a successful second marriage, that I could blend this family perfectly. I lost sight of what actually mattered. I chose pride over my son's safety. Yes, I said simply. You did. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if I can fix it. Oliver barely looks at me during visits. He answers my questions in one-word sentences. He's polite and distant, like I'm a stranger. And I did that. I turned my son into a stranger. So what are you going to do about it? I don't know. Tell him I'm divorcing Monica? Will that even matter to him at this point? Will he believe that I'm finally putting him first? Or will he think it's just another manipulation? You're asking the wrong person. You should be asking Oliver. I'm scared he won't care. That it's too late. It might be too late for things to go back to how they were. But it's not too late to start building something new. Something honest. It'll take time, Marcus. Probably years. And he may never fully trust you again the way he did before. But if you're genuine, if you really commit to being the father he needs, there's a chance. He was quiet for a long time, staring into his coffee. I loved her, you know. Monica. I really did. Part of me still does. But I love my son more. I should have remembered that sooner. Yes, you should have. Are you going to forgive me? Eventually? I thought about that. I don't know. Right now, I'm still angry. But you're my son, and I love you. Those two things can be true at the same time. He nodded, tears in his eyes. Can I tell Oliver about the divorce? That's between you and him. But Marcus, don't do it expecting gratitude or immediate forgiveness. Do it because it's the right thing to do, not to earn points with him. I know. I want him to know that he matters. That he matters more than anything. Oliver was in his room when Marcus went upstairs. I stayed in the kitchen, giving them privacy, but I could hear the murmur of voices through the ceiling. Marcus is low and urgent. Oliver's quieter, more hesitant. At one point, I heard crying. I couldn't tell whose. They were up there for almost an hour. When Marcus came back down, his eyes were red but his face was calmer. How'd it go? Better than I expected. Worse than I hoped. He said he needs time. Lots of time. But he's willing to try. Eventually. Maybe. That's something. Yeah, it's something. Marcus left, and Oliver came downstairs. He didn't say anything about the conversation, and I didn't ask. Just made us grilled cheese sandwiches and we watched a nature documentary about penguins. Simple, normal, the kind of evening that felt like healing might be possible someday. The custody hearing arrived on a cold Tuesday in November. The courthouse was all marble and echo, formal and intimidating. Cheryl had flown back for it. She and Marcus sat on opposite sides of the courtroom, not looking at each other. Monica was there too, sitting behind Marcus's lawyer, looking smaller than I remembered. She'd cut her hair, looked tired. When her eyes met mine, she looked away quickly. Oliver had to testify. He sat in the witness box looking pale and nervous, and my heart broke watching him answer questions about the worst night of his life, about the other times Monica had hurt him, about how his father had reacted. Marcus's lawyer tried to make it seem like Oliver was exaggerating, like he was a difficult child who'd pushed Monica to her breaking point. But Oliver stayed calm, told the truth, and when the lawyer asked if he'd ever done anything to provoke Monica, Oliver said, "I was 12 and living in my own house. I shouldn't have had to walk on eggshells to avoid being hit." The judge, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and gray hair, nodded slightly. Monica testified too, cried, apologized, said she'd been under so much stress, that she'd never forgive herself, that she was getting help. Her lawyer painted her as a victim too of a difficult situation, of a child who resented her, of her own mental health struggles. It was hard to listen to. Harder to watch Oliver's face as he heard himself described as the problem, but then Cheryl testified, and she was magnificent. Calm, clear, devastating. She talked about every phone call with Oliver where he'd mentioned feeling uncomfortable, feeling like he couldn't do anything right, feeling like his father was choosing his wife over him. She produced emails, text messages, documentation of everything. She'd been building a case without even realizing it. Just by being a mother who paid attention. "My son should never have felt unsafe in his own home," she said, looking directly at Marcus. "And his father should never have made him feel like his safety was negotiable." The judge asked Marcus a few questions. He was honest, almost painfully so. Admitted his mistakes. Said he'd filed for divorce from Monica. Said he wanted to rebuild his relationship with Oliver but understood it would take time. "Your Honor," he said finally, "I failed my son. I can't undo that. All I can do is try to be better going forward. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. Oliver's well-being has to come first. I should have made sure of that from the beginning." The hearing lasted for hours. At the end, the judge said she needed time to review everything and would issue her ruling within a week. We left the courthouse together but apart, Cheryl and Oliver and me walking to my car. Marcus heading to his alone, his lawyer beside him murmuring things I couldn't hear. "How do you feel?" I asked Oliver when we were in the car. "Tired. Really tired." "You did great in there. You were brave and honest." "Do you think the judge believed me?" "I think the judge heard you. Really heard you. That's what matters." The ruling came 5 days later via email. I printed it out with shaking hands and read it twice before calling Cheryl and then sitting Oliver down to explain what it meant. Primary custody would go to Cheryl. Oliver would live with her in Colorado. Marcus would have him for spring break, 1 month in the summer, and alternating holidays. All visits would be supervised by me for the first 6 months. Then reassessed. Monica was prohibited from any contact with Oliver until he turned 18. At which point it would be his choice. Marcus was ordered to attend parenting classes and family therapy if Oliver agreed to participate, and there was a note from the judge that wasn't legally binding, but felt important anyway. This court recognizes that Oliver Bennett showed remarkable courage in removing himself from a dangerous situation. A child should never have to be the adult in the room. The adults in his life failed him, and it is the hope of this court that they will all work to do better by him in the future. Oliver cried when I read that part. Relief, sadness, exhaustion, all of it coming out at once. I get to live with Mom? You get to live with Mom. She's already found an apartment near a good school. She'll be here next week to pack up your things. What about Dad? You'll still see him, still have a relationship with him, if you want it, but on your terms now. Safe terms. And you? I'm a 3-hour flight away. I'll visit. You'll visit. And I'm always a phone call away. Always. He hugged me, and I held him like I'd held his father 30 years ago, when the world felt too big and scary and the only thing I could offer was my presence and the promise that it would be okay eventually. The last 2 weeks before Oliver left were bittersweet. We did everything we could fit in, went to his favorite restaurant, bought new clothes for his new school, packed up his room carefully, labeling boxes and talking about where things would go in Cheryl's apartment. Marcus came to say goodbye the night before Oliver left. They sat on the porch together for a long time, talking in low voices. When Marcus left, he hugged Oliver carefully, like he was afraid of breaking him. "I love you," I heard him say. "I'm sorry I forgot to show it when it mattered most." "I love you too, Dad," Oliver said quietly. "Maybe things will be better in Colorado. Maybe distance will help. Maybe. And I'll be here when you're ready, however long that takes." Cheryl and Oliver left on a Sunday morning. I drove them to the airport, helped carry bags to check in, and tried not to cry in the terminal. "Thank you," Cheryl said, hugging me tight, "for protecting him, for believing him, for doing what we should have done. He's my grandson. I'd do anything for him." Oliver hugged me longest. "I'm going to miss you, Grandma. I'm going to miss you too, sweetheart. But you're going to do great. Fresh start, new school, your mom. It's going to be good. Will you come visit at Christmas? Try and stop me." I watched them go through security, watched Oliver turn and wave one last time before they disappeared into the crowd. Drove home to a house that felt too quiet, too empty. But as I sat in my kitchen that night, drinking tea and looking at the photo Oliver had insisted I keep him and me at the zoo last year, both of us laughing at something silly, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. Not happiness exactly. Not yet. But the kind of peace that comes from knowing you did the right thing even when it was hard. From knowing you protected someone who needed protecting. From knowing that sometimes love means making people uncomfortable, challenging them, refusing to let them take the easy way out. Marcus called a few days later. The divorce was moving forward. Monica had moved out. The house felt empty, he said. He was thinking of selling it, starting fresh somewhere else. "Maybe that's good," I told him. Fresh starts seem to be going around. "How are you doing? With Oliver gone?" "Missing him, but glad he's safe. Glad he's with his mother. Glad he's somewhere he can heal." "Do you think he'll ever forgive me?" "I think he'll forgive you when you prove you've actually changed. Not before." "And that's fair, Marcus. That's what you earned." He was quiet. Then, "Thank you for not giving up on either of us. I'm your mother. I don't know how to give up on you, but I also won't let you hurt that boy again. So you better figure yourself out." "I'm trying. I'm really trying." "I know. Keep trying." Winter came, cold and quiet. I went back to my routine: book club on Thursdays, volunteering at the library on Tuesdays, coffee with my friend Janet on Saturday mornings. Life returned to normal. Or whatever passes for normal after your family implodes and rebuilds itself into something different. Oliver called every few days, told me about his new school, his new friends, the violin teacher his mom had found who was really good. He sounded lighter, younger somehow, like he'd been carrying weight I hadn't fully recognized and had finally put it down. Dad called last night, he told me during one call. We talked for like an hour, about normal stuff. Movies and school and random things. It was nice. That's good. That's really good. I'm not ready to forgive him yet, but maybe someday. Maybe when I'm older and I understand things better. You don't have to rush it. Forgiveness happens on its own timeline. Cheryl, Mom. I'm trying to call her Mom again. She said the same thing. That I shouldn't force myself to feel things I don't feel. She's right. Feel what you feel. Trust what you trust. And give yourself time. Do you miss me? Every single day. But I'm so proud of you. You know that, right? I know, Grandma. I love you. I love you too, sweetheart. Christmas came. And true to my promise, I flew to Colorado. Cheryl's apartment was small but cozy, decorated with the kind of enthusiasm that comes from trying to make a new place feel like home. Oliver had his own room, walls covered with posters and his violin in the corner and books stacked on every surface. We spent Christmas Eve watching movies and eating too much food. Oliver played violin for us, really played, not just practicing but performing. A piece I didn't recognize, complex and beautiful. When he finished, Cheryl was crying. When did you get so good? I've been practicing a lot. It helps. When I play, everything else goes away for a while. That night, after Oliver went to bed, Cheryl and I sat in her small living room drinking wine and talking in low voices. He's doing okay, she said. Better than okay, actually. His therapist says he's processing everything really well. He has nightmares sometimes, but they're getting less frequent. And you? How are you doing? Guilty, grateful, angry at Marcus, angry at myself for leaving in the first place. All of it at once. You couldn't have known what would happen. But I should have known my son. Should have checked in more, visited more, paid more attention. I was so focused on my career, on proving I could do it all, that I missed the signs that he was struggling. We all missed signs. Marcus missed them. I missed them. Oliver hid them well because he wanted to make everyone happy. That's what kids do. It's not your fault, maybe. I'm trying to believe that. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the sounds of the apartment building around us. Lives being lived, families being families, the ordinary chaos of existence. Thank you, Cheryl said finally, for fighting for him, for being what he needed when the rest of us weren't. He's my grandson. There was never a question of whether I'd fight for him, only how hard. Still, thank you. I flew home the day after Christmas, hugged Oliver tight at the airport, and promised to come back in the spring. Watched him and Cheryl drive away, and felt that same bittersweet ache of letting go and holding on at the same time. Marcus and I had dinner a few weeks later. His idea. He looked better, still tired, still sad, but less lost somehow. The divorce is almost final, he said. Monica's moving to Arizona. New job. Fresh start. How do you feel about that? Relieved mostly. And sad. It's complicated. Most things are. I've been doing the parenting classes and individual therapy. My therapist says I have patterns of conflict avoidance that contributed to all of this. That I value peace so much I'm willing to sacrifice truth to keep it. Sounds accurate. He smiled sadly. Yeah, I'm working on it. Working on a lot of things. That's all you can do. Work on it and hope Oliver sees the effort. He sent me a birthday card last week. Just a card, nothing major. But inside he wrote, "Hope you're doing okay, Dad." That's it. But it felt like something. Like maybe a door opening just a crack. It is something. Don't push it. Just be grateful for the crack and wait for him to open it wider when he's ready. How did you do it? When Dad died and you had to figure out how to keep going? How did you survive losing someone? I thought about my husband, dead almost 10 years now. Thought about the early days of grief when breathing felt impossible, when the house was too quiet and too full of memories at the same time. One day at a time, some days 1 hour at a time. And I let myself feel everything, the anger, the sadness, the guilt, the love. Didn't try to rush past any of it. Just lived in it until gradually, eventually, it changed shape into something I could carry. I feel like I lost Oliver. Like the relationship we had is dead. And I'm grieving it. You did lose it. That innocent trust he had in you, that belief that you'd always protect him, you can't get that back. But you can build something new. Different. But maybe deeper. More honest. It won't be the same, Marcus. But that doesn't mean it can't be good. He nodded, wiping his eyes. I'm trying to be better. I want him to be proud of me again someday. Then keep trying. Keep being honest. Keep showing up. That's all any of us can do. Spring came, then summer. Oliver visited for a week in July, his choice, something he'd agreed to in therapy. Marcus picked him up from my house, and they spent the week doing father-son things. Baseball games, movies, dinners out. They came by one evening, and I made spaghetti. And for a few hours it almost felt normal, almost. There was still carefulness in the way Oliver talked to his father. Still distance. But there was also laughter. A few times. Real laughter. Not forced. And when they left, Marcus ruffled Oliver's hair the way he used to, and Oliver didn't pull away. It was enough. For now, it was enough. Oliver turned 13 in August. I flew to Colorado for his birthday. Cheryl threw a party with his new friends, kids I didn't know with names I had to learn. He seemed happy, comfortable, like he'd found his footing in this new life. That night, after the party, we sat on Cheryl's balcony watching the sunset. Just him and me. You okay, Grandma? You've been quiet. I'm good. Just thinking. About what? About how proud I am of you. How brave you've been. How you stood up for yourself when it was the hardest thing in the world to do. I was scared that night. When I called you from the police station, I wasn't sure you'd come. Of course I came. I'll always come. I know that now. But that night, I wasn't sure of anything. I just knew I needed someone to believe me. I believed you. I'll always believe you. He leaned against me, 13 years old and still my baby boy. I think I'm ready to forgive Dad. Not totally. Not like everything's forgotten. But ready to start trying. Is that okay? That's more than okay. That's generous and mature and exactly what you should do when you're ready. I'm still angry sometimes. About what happened. About how he chose her over me. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to feel everything you feel. But I also miss him. The way he used to be. Before Monica. And I want that back. Even if I know it can't be exactly the same. So tell him that. Tell him you're ready to try, but you need him to meet you halfway. To really hear you and believe you and put you first. He'll do it, Oliver. I think he's finally ready to do it. What if he messes up again? Then you walk away until he does better. You protect yourself. You don't sacrifice your safety or peace for anyone. Not even your father. Not even me. You protect yourself first. You taught me that. That night, when you came to get me, you showed me that I mattered. That my safety mattered more than keeping the peace. You've always mattered. You always will. We sat there as the sun dropped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. The air smelled like summer, like possibility, like new beginnings. I'm okay now. You know, Oliver said quietly. I'm actually okay. It took a while, and I still have bad days. But most days are good. I like my school. I like living with Mom. I like my life. I'm so glad. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. You're stronger than you know, maybe. But I didn't have to be strong alone. You were there. You fought for me. I'd do it again, 1,000 times over. He smiled, and in that smile I saw the man he'd become someday. Strong, kind, brave. Someone who'd known darkness and chosen light anyway. Someone who'd been broken and had learned to heal himself and others. My grandson. My Oliver. Safe. Believed. Loved. Exactly as he should have been all along. 2 years later, I got another call late at night. My heart jumped the way it always did now when the phone rang after dark. But this time, when I answered, Oliver's voice was excited, not scared. Grandma, guess what? I got first chair. In the youth orchestra. First chair violin. I laughed, relief and joy flooding through me. That's wonderful, baby. I'm so proud of you. And Dad was here for the audition. He flew out to watch. And afterward he took me and Mom to dinner and we hung out. Like a family. Different than before, but still family. And it was good, Grandma. It was really good. I'm so happy to hear that. He's been doing better. Calling more. Showing up more. Actually listening when I talk. He's trying really hard. That's all we can ask. That people try. I think I forgave him. Somewhere along the way, without really noticing. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just glad. Glad he figured it out. Glad we get another chance. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen in the dark, thinking about all the ways families break and heal and break and heal again. About the long road from that police station to this moment. About the courage it takes to protect someone, to believe someone, to put their safety above everything else. About the grace it takes to forgive. and about the love that makes all of it possible. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Thank you, Mom, for not giving up on me, for showing me what it means to really love someone. I'm trying to be the father you taught me to be, the father Oliver deserves. I'm sorry it took me so long to remember. I texted back. I love you, both of you, always. And I meant it. Because that's what families do. They break, they heal, they try again. And love, real love, makes space for all of it.